now my pleasure to introduce Ms. Yeomni Park. She was born in North Korea, and she experienced the realities of a communist government. She and her family suffered from poverty, hunger, and strict government oppression. Yeomni and her mother escaped North Korea in 2007 and, through much hardship, found their way to the United States. Ever since then, Yeomni Park has been one of the loudest voices against North Korean regime and communist oppression across the world, including here in the United States. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please welcome Yeomni Park.
Wow. Oh, let me step out of here. Hi, everyone. Howdy. I just learned that. It's such an honor to be here. Thank you so much for coming out on Thursday night. You could have done something better than coming here. So I'm so honored. Thank you so much for having me and hosting me here. My name is Yeomni Park. I am from a country called North Korea. But I realize a lot of people just think that North Korea is a formal name, right? It's not. It's called the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. It's a democracy and republic. And this is very important for us to know tonight. Why? Because we are going to learn about something called socialism. I escaped North Korea, and now I live in New York City, Manhattan. And New York had our very first interesting election. We just selected our socialist mayor. Yeah? I know you guys understand here, but do you know what was so shocking to me? The people in New York, under 30, 80% of them chose this guy. And they are mostly college graduates. And this is alarming. In the last century alone, socialism, the ideology called the compassionate ideology, killed more than 130 million human beings in the 20th century alone. And World War II, guys, only killed 70 million people. Like right now, if someone says they're racist, we get so alarmed. If now someone says they like Hitler, we get so alarmed. But somehow, the people who say they love socialism, like AOC, Bernie Sanders, they get worshipped in America. And this is something that we now need to relearn, what North Korea is. So a lot of people think somehow North Korea began as this dark, scary place, right? But it actually began with a very handsome man with a very nice, charming smile, like Mamdani had. In the 1940s, when my grandparents was in North Korea, there's this guy named Kim Il-sung, the first Fat Kim dictator, by the way. There are 3 of them, right? I mean, we can't fat shame that guy, right? So he came along, and he was a young, passionate man, and he said to my grandmother, so this beautiful story. It is so evil. They are greedy capitalists with money. And there are poor peasants who cannot go to hospital, who cannot even send their kids to school for free. This is wrong. I can do something about this. How about we do something called socialism and collectivism and give opportunity to everybody? Nobody starves. Nobody is not getting education. Everybody gets a free education. Everybody gets free healthcare. And everybody gets free housing and free food from the government. And it sounded so awesome, right? It sounded so compassionate. We don't want our neighbor to be on the homeless and suffer, right? So with that beautiful promise, my grandmother and my grandfather gave up their rights one by one. They first gave up their freedom of speech because there are some horrible people saying things like capitalism was good. So we had to get rid of freedom of speech. And they also had to give up private property because you cannot be richer than somebody, right? We had to take all the things from the rich people first to create this paradise. So let's abolish private property. Nobody owns their home. Nobody has a car. Nobody owns land. It's a public thing. So they gave up that. And then they also eventually had to give up their freedom of movement, freedom of religion. One by one, they gave up all their rights in the just name of this paradise where everybody's equal. 80 years later now, guys, we all know that North Korea is not a paradise. It became the biggest concentration camp, a nation state in human history. The entire nation became a political prison camp. Nobody allowed to in, nobody allowed to leave. And with this promise of equality, the regime divided people into 51 different caste systems. And you are wondering here, like, how on earth can you divide people into 51 different castes? Unlike America, guys, we don't even have a different race. We all look the same. We all eat kimchi. We all speak the same Korean language. But the regime got an idea. Oh, we can do something about it. We still can divide people. They decided to divide based on who our ancestors were. I hope this reminds you of anything what's happening in America with our race. If your great-grandfather was a landowner, they say your blood is tainted, your genetics is oppressive. So now you're the lower caste. Like in America, for the white people, I have like a half white son. He's half Asian, half white, so screwed, right? He's the oppressor right now. Somehow, he needs to answer for his ancestors' crime because his ancestors might have owned the slaves on his father's side. Just like that, that's the heart of Marxism. Punish people for something they did not do. So based on our ancestors, North Koreans divided into this different 51 different caste system. And why is this caste system is important? Have you guys watched or read the movie Hunger Games? I literally thought this author copied North Korea, right? So this caste system determines where you live and which part of district you are belong to. Government assigns you the district. And that determines who gets fed and who starves to death. The people in the capital, like Kim Jong-un right now, like even his father died from obesity. His problem was having so much food. Kim Jong-un's problem is also having so much food. He's so fat. Rest of the people are starving, right? Because they did not born that caste. And because of that's why growing up in North Korea, the fanciest meal that I ate as a child was eating grasshoppers. That was like the biggest protein source for me. Now I live in New York and I have a lot of friends who live in Brooklyn and telling me that we need to eat a lot of insects to save climate. I'm like, I did my portion, darling. It's your time. I'm gonna eat the steak, no matter how much fart they're making. Right? And like in the 21st century, where now we are talking about this artificial intelligence, right? The supercomputers. North Korea does not even have electricity. Have you guys seen the satellite picture of North Korea at nighttime? It is the darkest place in the world. And I would say it's Earth Day every single day. We are the number one nation for climate change, right? And that's why the people in the bottom get starved on purpose. The Kim Jong-un conducts more than like 300 missile tests in the last 3 years. One missile test can feed entire nation for entire year. So it's not about a matter of not having money. The regime chose to starve us. Do you know why? Being in North Korea, right? Now I'm really petite, but back then I was like so tiny. If I find lunch, I have to worry about finding dinner. If I fail to find dinner, I will die. And if I find dinner, my entire worry is finding tomorrow's morning. Because that depends your survival. You have no time to think about meaning of life or liberty or freedom. The only thing you have to think about to survive is finding next meal. That's why the regime chose starvation as a tool to control people. But even in these darkest points, I got to see a light one day when I got access to DVDs from black market. On the North Korean dictator's birthdays or New Year's Eve, the governments give us electricity. It's the government, gift to its people. So those days, we can secretly watch DVDs from the authority. And the very first thing that I saw in North Korea that made out of the North Korean regime was WWE Pro Wrestling. Anybody watching here? I still don't know why this thing made it to all the way North Korea, but it did. And watching it, I literally thought it was like, that's how all American men look like. So when I came here, I was very disappointed. Because this is not what you promised to me. After pro wrestling, I saw something else. It's like the movie, Titanic. Literally, I could not believe a human being can decide what to die for. In North Korea, you cannot even commit a suicide. You are not allowed to kill yourself without government permission. If you kill yourself, they can't punish your family. So even your life doesn't belong to you. So the only thing that North Korean people are allowed to die for and live for is the Communist Party and the dictator. So seeing this Titanic movie, this guy just simply chose to die for the girl that he liked on a boat. And I couldn't imagine it, that people had a choice what to die for. And that's when I realized maybe the rest of the world outside North Korea, maybe not is so different, scary place, right? By the time when I was 13 years old, it was 2007. I'm sure most of you were not born by then. I was 13 years old and I was so starving. And luckily I was living in the border town of North Korea. And because I was a border town, at nighttime, I saw electricity lights coming from Chinese side. And that just gave me a clue. Maybe China is not as bad as we are. Because up until this point, I've never even seen the map of the world. Escaping from North Korea is not like other migrants who have TikToks and they know what's going on in the world. We don't know anything about the world, right? I just guessed maybe why do they have lights on that side and they might have some food for me to eat. And that curiosity led my sister to escape. And then I initially wanted to go with her, but I couldn't go because I got really, really sick. So my parents took me to a hospital to get treated. And now let's talk about this hospital where so many people in America wants free healthcare that provided from the government. The nurse in North Korea was using a 1 needle to inject every patient. The needle is so dull because it injected so many patients. It's most painful thing. And the doctors, right? They don't get paid by the government. So they have to be corrupt to survive themselves. So if you don't bribe the doctors in North Korea, they don't treat you. Even it's a free healthcare system. So my parents had to bribe the doctors and get me treated. And doctors are so inadequate because they're like dumb idiots become doctors in North Korea. I'm so sorry. This is a problem why we should not have DEI. When we get rid of meritocracy, the people who are competent, the people who are not good get that job. So in North Korea, if your grandfathers were revolutionaries, you become a doctor. It's not because you are smart and studied hard to become a doctor. So these idiots, only thing they did was having a right ancestor. Just it rubbed my belly and thought I had appendicitis. And they opened my stomach and realized nothing was bursting there. I just had a malnutrition and infection. But he got so embarrassed, he still removed my perfectly fine appendix and put me back. So don't worry, when I go back, I'm going to sue this doctor. After this surgery, this is what I remember from my hometown. From my surgery room, I had to go outdoor to use the bathroom. And there are piles of dead bodies on the next way. But it's not first time I'm seeing dead bodies. In North Korea, seeing dead bodies looking at a tree. It's such a common thing.